Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our training. Just for the people who just walked in, please just make sure to scan the QR code that is at the entrance table. And if not, go ahead and scan the one that's here on screen. That way we know of everybody who attended the training and we have all their information. My name is Isela Valdez. I work in the accounting department. I also do Booster Club. I do student activity. I do donations, local mileage here for the district. If any time during the presentation, if y'all have any questions, please raise your hand and we will go ahead and answer any questions that you may have. Or if you want to wait to the very end to ask any questions, you can do so then. Booster clubs and parent organizations. Today we're just going to talk about general information, organization guidelines, UIO Booster Club guidelines, how to get started, federal and state tax information, accounting and financial management guidelines, and also fundraising guidelines. The board recognizes the valuable services performed by booster clubs and parent organizations to support and enhance the educational progress of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD students. District-affiliated school support or booster organizations shall organize and function in a way that is consistent with the district's goals, philosophy, and objectives within adopted board policies in accordance with applicable UIO guidelines and the district's Booster Club and Parent Organization Guidelines. The school district has board policies that must be followed by booster clubs and parent organizations. Booster clubs and parent organizations are a separate entity from the school district, even though they generally exist solely to support the activities of school or student groups. If you will be volunteering on district property or for district-sponsored events, please complete a parent volunteer application as per board policy. The volunteer form is on our school website, and just log on there and just fill it out so that way, whenever you want to volunteer, it's already good to go. Each organization shall operate under a constitution and or bylaws. An organization's bylaws provide the rules for how to operate. We want to go ahead and any bylaws that you have for your booster club, please go ahead and email them to the email that's listed here, which is Mr. Gilbert Sanchez, who is the comptroller, and also myself, Isela Valdez. If your bylaws have or have not changed, you can still go ahead and send me if it's the same thing from last year. I just want to make sure to have everything current. So please email them to both of us. That way we both have a copy of them. The parent organization or booster club shall recommend the election of the following officers on an annual basis. Your organization should have a president, secretary, and treasurer. A current list of your officers and designated check signers for each organization shall be submitted annually to the comptroller, Mr. Sanchez, Gilbert Sanchez, and myself, Isela Valdez, and also to your campus principal. The campus principal or liaison may not hold an office in their campus, parent, or booster organization. Every booster organization in the district must be familiar with and conduct all its activities in compliance with requirements and limitations set out by the UIL in its booster club guidelines. The superintendent is responsible for the entire UIL program. All school activities, organizations, events, and personnel are under the jurisdiction of the superintendent. Booster clubs must recognize this authority and work within a framework prescribed by the school administration. We're going to talk about the formation of your booster clubs. I know this year there is some schools who want to have PTO. So these are the steps that you would follow to start a booster club or a PTO group. Obtain a written approval of your school principal for your organization. Send a copy of the written approval from your principal to the finance department. That way we have a copy of it. Also establish the PTO booster club's mailing address. Once you have a booster club, you have to obtain a mailing address where you'll be receiving all your correspondence. And you must also obtain an employer identification number, and of course that comes from the IRS. Booster clubs and parent organizations provide an important support function to student groups. However, they also require a strong commitment from the members to work properly. Therefore, deciding whether or not to form a booster club or parent organization is a difficult decision that requires careful consideration of the pros and cons of the organization. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the federal and state tax. To sell any taxable items within the state of Texas, a company, organization, or person must apply for a sales tax permit. Person obtaining a sales tax permit, a parent organization and booster club must first obtain an employer identification number from the Internal Revenue Service to establish its identity as an organization. This year, I would like to have all your EIN numbers, employer identification numbers, emailed to me. I want to make sure that I have all your current numbers on file. I mean, if it hasn't changed in the past year, 2, 5 years, I just want to make sure that we have all our records updated. Parent organizations and booster clubs should obtain a Texas sales tax permit if you intend to sell goods or taxable services in Texas by submitting the completed applications to the Texas State Comptroller's Office. State and federal regulatory agencies such as the Texas State Comptroller's Office, the Texas Secretary of State, and the Internal Revenue Service also govern parent organizations and booster clubs. New and existing parent organizations and booster clubs must abide by the regulations and guidelines set by these agencies. Parent organizations and booster clubs are not permitted to use the district's employer identification number. Obtaining IRS exempt status. Each parent organization and booster club is independent of the San Felipe de Real CISD and responsible for completing the necessary filings with the IRS. Should it choose to obtain and maintain the exempt organization of the 501c status. So just make sure that every year you are filing your information with the IRS. If you have a letter, anything in writing saying that everything is good to go with the organization, go ahead and email me a copy of it. I just want to keep records of everything for your organization, everything you might have. If a parent organization or booster club has not obtained tax-exempt status from the IRS, the parent organization or booster club is a taxable entity. The officers of the organization should be responsible for proper administration of their funds, including accounting, safeguarding, and disbursement of funds in accordance with federal and state law and local policy. Parent organizations are fully responsible for all taxes, debts, and other financial commitments incurred by the organization. Most of the reporting requirements of a parent organization and booster club are dependent on the financial records kept. Therefore, the Office of Parent Organization and Booster Club Treasurer is an extremely important and vital position that should not be taken lightly. The treasurer is ultimately responsible for assuring that all financial records are maintained accurately for the parent organization and booster club. We're going to talk a little bit about your bank accounts. Each parent organization and booster club must have its own bank account with its own employer identification number. The financial records for the parent organizations and booster clubs must be balanced monthly. This includes a monthly bank reconciliation and review of outstanding checks and deposits in transit. Review the reconciled bank statements and canceled checks to determine that everything has been properly documented with an invoice or receipt, that all disbursements have been properly approved, that all checks have been signed, that checks have been deposited or cashed by the payee indicated, and that no information on the face of the check has been altered. Compare cash receipts and deposits to the bank statement, and make sure that all checks have been accounted for with a proper sequence. Make sure there's no checks missing that don't match to any receipts or any invoices that you may have. Cash receipts should be issued for all money received. All disbursements should be made by pre-numbered checks from the organization's bank. Make sure that any purchases that are made are used from the bank account that you have for your booster club. Do not pay anything with your personal accounts because you're not going to have a record of it. We just want to make sure that whatever purchases are being made, you are using the checking account that pertains to that particular booster club. Original or invoices should be provided as support for all payments made by check. And it is required that parent organizations submit records to be audited annually by an audit committee composed of at least 3 qualified members of the organization who are not signatories on the organization's bank account. Fundraising guidelines. If you're going to be holding any type of fundraisers, please make sure to fill out a fundraising form. I will be emailing you a new form to everyone who attended today. Make sure that form is signed by the president, by the principal, and if your organization is athletic related, it needs to be signed by also Mr. McRae. If you're going to be having an event, I don't know, maybe in the next few months, you can send it as early as possible. I am asking that you at least send it, if you can, 14 to 30 days before your event. If there is any fundraiser forms that you have not sent and the event has already taken place, please make sure to send me a copy of any forms that have not been submitted to me as well, so that way I can have a current list. If you'll be having any fundraisers and I do not have a form filled out, I know a lot of you are in social media and you do post any events that you will be having. I know there's been many times that the Ms. Childress, the CFO, just asks if we have fundraiser forms for any events you're having. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So just please make sure to have your forms filled out and sent to me. So that way I have copies of it, and if there's any questions, I can go ahead and send you a copy of your form already with all the approval on there. Before any fundraising activity occurs, parent organizations and booster clubs should decide whether a fundraiser is a parent organization or booster club fundraiser, where money is deposited directly into the parent organization and booster club's bank account, or whether it is a school fundraiser, money is deposited directly into the district's student fund account for that student group. If your booster club is having a fundraiser, the money that is raised during, if you're having, for example, a concession stand, booster club purchase the items to be sold, then that money will be deposited into your booster club account. If you are helping one of the sponsors from our school district and you're volunteering just to help them out, please, as a booster, make sure that that money is turned into the sponsor, because that money needs to go into the school district account. We just want to make sure that the money that was raised and the money that was put into purchasing the items goes to either be the concession stand for the Booster Club or the concession stand that is a student activity account for the sponsor. That money needs to be deposited into the account for the school district. So just, unless for some reason the Booster Club is donating that money that they raised at that concession stand, if you're donating it to the school, whatever money was made, then they can go ahead and deposit it into the student activity account. So just make sure of that.
If you're not sure, like if the team has asked you for help, and make sure that you understand, are you asking me to just help volunteer, or are you asking this to be a Booster Club sponsored? Because we had one where there was some confusion, and the Booster Club thought that they were supposed to be taking it over, so they went ahead and bought all the items thinking the money was going into their account, and that was not the case. It was a student run, so it had to go to the student. So as a Booster Club person, make sure if they're asking for help, that you know what kind of help they're asking for. Are they just asking for time? Are they asking you to actually run it? In which case, clarify, do I get the proceeds or do you? Because they do have monies where if it's theirs, if you want to volunteer to purchase items for them to do and they get all the profits, you can. But they can also do a PO to purchase those items for the concession stand, and it comes out of their account, and then all the profits go back into their account. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that? So just clarify and make sure that you're both on the same page so that it doesn't end and they thought it was going to them and you thought it was going to you.
All fundraiser activities require proper approval from the principal or the designated license, which was what I was talking about earlier. This just provides the campus with knowledge of all the activities. We just want to make sure that your campus principal is aware of everything that's going on. We want to make sure that we know also. If we're questioned on anything, then we know there's a set date for certain things. So just make sure to fill out the forms, and then that way we have everything current also in our books. I know this year there was questions about if an employee or official can serve as president of a booster club. And this information that I have here is from the Texas Association of School Boards. And the answer to that is no law specifically prohibits a board member from serving as a booster club officer, but this is not a recommended practice. The booster club and district have overlapping areas of interest and responsibility. Thus, serving on both entities is very likely to lead to conflicting loyalties. For example, the booster club may request that a district use a gift in a certain way. If the issue comes to the Board of Trustees to decide, which may be required by local policy, then at a minimum, the conflicted board member should abstain from the vote. Even if a dual role does not lead to an illegal conflict of interest, a board member should consider the potential for actual or perceived bias. Similarly, an employee considering service as a booster club officer should be aware of the potential conflict of interest. TASB Model Policy DBL Local requires an employee to notify his or her supervisor of any personal obligation or relationship that in a way may create a potential conflict of interest with the employee's job duties or the best interests of the district. I know this year we were asked this question, and this is the answer that we got, and we just wanted to make y'all aware of that. And this is just the information of Mr. Gilbert Sanchez, who is a comptroller. This is his email address, his phone number, and mine is Isela Valdez, Accounts Payable Clerk, and that is my phone number and my email address. And if anybody has any questions for me. So you're having two different fundraisers at two different schools?
I would actually just email the form to all of them in one so they're all aware of it. Part of the reason that they want approvals is to make sure that nobody else is having a fundraiser that same time that's going to conflict with yours. If you're doing a car wash, I'm sorry, what booster club are you with? Orchestra. So if you're doing a car wash, but football's also doing a car wash the same weekend, they want to give you guys the best chance of success. So they want to say, hey, there's at least make you aware there's already one happening this weekend. Do you really want to have it this weekend, or do you want to pick a different weekend? So that's part of the reason that the booster clubs get the approvals. And with the athletic ones, the reason it goes through Mr. McCrae as well is because UIL has very specific rules in place for theirs, and they want to make sure that those rules are followed because the principals aren't always aware of those UIL rules. So that's another reason that booster for athletics has to go through the athletic director as well as the principal. So with yours, I would just email all of them and just ask them to reply to it, and then you could submit it with that email thread attached, and then they've all seen it on there. So that they're aware of what's going on with their campus. Because ultimately, even though the booster clubs are separate, they're still ultimately responsible for it. So I know it's difficult, but that's also, TEA guidelines and stuff. It's not just us making up the rules.
So I didn't see anything on the slide, but you know how you have parents that don't support the booster or anything like that? Is there any guidelines regarding that when it comes to scholarships?
My understanding, I don't think you can exclude anybody with the group. So if you're going to do like a senior scholarship, my understanding is that you would divide it up among all of the students that were qualified for it. It's not a matter of, oh, well, your parent didn't participate, so you are not eligible for this. That's my understanding. Are you aware of anything different, Gilbert? Yeah.
Okay, but do you have a guideline or something where stating that? That supports what you're saying?
I will have to look and see if TEA guidelines say that. That's just what I've always been told. So,
I think it's just unfair that you have parents that, don't participate. And
yeah.
I understand
And when it comes down to the child, too, like you're going to exclude a child because a parent isn't able to participate?
maybe just donating stuff, like they're not around for anything. I understand we all have different lives, but when it comes like, okay, we're gonna give scholarships, I'm just throwing it out there because I know that was one of the concerns from our booster. Like, we're always running concession stuff, but it's the same parents running it and giving the donations as well.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into it and see what we find on it.
And then along with that, it has to be the same amount for each person?
That's my understanding is that they have to divide it up equally because otherwise you're favoring one child over the other.
Can you disclose that information? I mean, there's one organization, like when y'all do the scholarships at the end of the school year, there's one organization that doesn't provide that dollar amount.
I don't know on that. I will have to look into it and find out more information, to be honest with you. I will look into that because I do not know the answer to that, but I will find out, and we'll send it out. If you've registered here and your email's there, we will send out the massive email to everybody that was here and answer that question so that you'll have the answer to that. Yeah. Have you heard of that? I have not heard of booster dues, but our CFO was very involved with booster club stuff. She's not able to be here tonight, but I will ask that question as well and put that in the email. Okay. Yeah, no, and we'll look into it for sure, because again, this is good for us too. We're fairly new to the department within the last couple of years, so this is all new, somewhat new too. So we'll find out those questions and get the answers out. Someone over here had a question. And I don't know if it's different between Booster Club and PTO, so we're going to find that information out. Yes. Talk louder for me because it airs on. That's my understanding. Have you had any? We haven't seen any forms coming in requesting that, so if somebody's doing that, they're doing it without getting permission to do it. Yeah, no, we haven't seen any forms come in, even anybody requesting to do that either. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? They allow it if your account is in the Booster Club name, like your bank account, as well as the Cash App is in the Booster Club name. It is not in a personal name. It can't be like, okay, well, I'm going to put this in my personal Cash App, and then I'm going to take the money out, and I'm going to put it in the account. No, it has to be specifically to your organization. I know that a lot of them find that it's easier not to deal with it, but if you can do it that way, then that's okay. If it's anything that's school related, if it's just the school organization doing it, there's no Cash App, no Venmo, nothing. Everything is cash or check because it all has to be deposited to the school district, and we don't have that. Any other questions? I'm going to take a note of that because that's the first time I've been asked that question. And we will get back to you. We will include that in the email and let you know if PTOs are required to have insurance. Okay. Is there any other questions? Or if you have questions that you want to just ask not in front of everybody, if you want to come up and ask us, that's fine. We obviously need to get back to you with some information with some questions that we have never been asked before. So we will do that. Yes? It does make sense, and I'm trying to think how that's probably honestly a question for the DMV with, okay, hey, this is our organization, but it's not always the same people on there, and how do you require it so that it goes with the next person? Because obviously that club then is going to be required for the registration dues each year on that. For that particular one, that's probably a DMV question on how they would handle with it being transferred, if there's anything specific that they need to show that. Because I don't know if it's like a business where it's like, okay, this is the business, but this is the contact person's name, in which case you'd have to go in and update the contact because they're going to have to mail the registration somewhere at the end of the year or whenever it comes due. So that might be something that they say, okay, yeah, we're going to put it in this name, but here's the point of contact, and then you'd have to update that point of contact as it changes, but I would clarify that with the DMV.
Any other questions?
That's fine.
That's fine. We're just gonna, if for people that are new and don't have that, that's why those are gonna come out. But if you've already have one filled out and you're submitting it, or you kept it from last year, that's fine.
That's perfect.
We will get it put up on the website too, if you go to the main SFDR webpage and click on the A through Z, if you click accounting, it's not there yet, but on the right-hand side, there will be a folder titled Booster Club, and we'll put that form out there as a fillable PDF as well, so that if you don't have it, and also if you don't want to have to go look at your email every time, you can click on that form and fill it out from there. And we'll put this PowerPoint up there too. And with the questions that you've asked, I'll probably create a frequently asked questions document and put that up there with the answers. Okay, any other questions? Anything else? Do you have anything else, Gilbert? Okay, well, thank you for coming, and we will get those questions hopefully by tomorrow. If not by Friday, we'll send out that email with the questions and answers. Mm-hmm. You should be, if you're not an employee, you should be going through the HR website and filling it out for like the background check. And then that form is all filled out. And then you're still gonna have to show your ID with the Raptor system. But you've done that with this, because they keep that on file. So like, for instance, if you're already an employee, you go through that. So like, we have all done that. So when I was helping with one of my son's trips, I didn't have to even be listed as a group sponsor because I'd already gone through the background. So just being there as an employee, I was able to help out with that. So that's why if you're not an employee, you still need to do that. Because yes, you're going into the school and they're running that, but if you were gonna they have that for if you're gonna be around kids. It's basically make sure you're not a sex offender, things like that, so that you're gonna be around the kids. They should be going onto that HR website and filling out that background check form. Did the school say that was the element? Yeah, HR had told us unless they have changed that in the last few weeks that we're not aware of, that if you're not an employee, you should be going in and filling out that volunteer form on the HR website. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly don't know the cost of it. I don't know if it's changed.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I think that kind of follows along the lines of the scholarship question, so let me find out, and I will clarify that in the email that goes out as well. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Sorry, that's the first time we've been asked these questions, and I was not prepared with an answer for that. Okay, well, thank you for coming. Yes? If as a booster club you don't want to do a scholarship, I don't believe you have to do one. But at the same time, I think, and we'll have to find out, it seems like you can't just single one out and say, okay, we're only going to give you one, but nobody else is getting one. But that may come into play with how many years they've been involved too. So we're going to find that out. But my understanding is you don't have to give out scholarships if you don't want to. Okay, well, if you have other questions that you don't want to ask in front of everybody, come down and ask us. And thank you for coming.